start that perhaps if we listen to all three speakers, then there'll be time for us to open it up to questions and discussion at the end. So I'd now like to welcome Dikaia Chatziefstathiou. Did I do that well? Or?
Yeah, it's good effort. Very good effort.
She is from Canterbury University, and she'll be presenting a paper called Discourses on Theatre, Sport and Performance, the Urban Dig Project.
Hello, good morning. I'm very excited to be with you here today because I have been doing quite a lot of work on the Olympics, more from the perspective of sport. I am a sports scientist by education, and then I did my PhD on Olympians and the discourses of Olympians and how Olympic values have changed over time. But myself, as a human being, I have been involved a lot in the arts in some way. I am a dance teacher, I write novels, poetry, but I had never found a way to connect this together until I actually performed as a dancer for the London 2012 Olympics. Because I was trying to find a way to connect my research that was archival research on the Olympics. I was always in Lausanne trying to find writings and then also some ethnographic data. But I had never really connected this. There was a missing link there. So when I actually performed in the Olympics, this clicked, and then I realized that when I was talking about discourses of Olympics, to me, it was actually my own interpretation of the Olympic values, which is culture, sport, education, and the cultural Olympiad made more sense to me. So then I came out with this site as well, which is called Olympic Discourses. It was funded by a project that I did, a Marie Curie Fellowship for the European Commission. And as you can see, my discourses are quite artistic in a way. So I write storytelling for kids, so it is all in there, my dancing, and all this is from the Olympics. So all these kind of issues came there. But I had never given the opportunity to actually link it in theory as much. Sorry, here, is it this one?
Over one. Yep.
This one, yeah? I'm using Mac and I think I forget. So, after the Olympic Games in London, I moved to Athens for this fellowship, the Marie Curie Fellowship, and to research how sporting events can increase social capital in urban spaces. So social capital, but I was also looking at cultural capital. And my journey, when I was in Greece, brought me in touch with an arts company called Ochi Pezume, which means we're not playing. And then they became what I call in my title, Urbanic Project. And they invited me to be part of their board. So when I worked with them, while I was doing my quantitative research survey for the European Commission, by giving questionnaires to marathon runners, that was about over 2,000 questionnaires to the marathon runners, it was a very structured quantitative research there. At the same time, I was flowing into spaces of arts, sport, theatre, performance with the Urbanic Project. Because they had taken a grant from the European Commission as well to actually do interventions with street performances in neighborhoods, in a specific neighborhood called Durvuti, which was immigrants, an immigrant neighborhood, and to see how through the arts on the street they could increase cultural capital. So from one side I was doing this quantitative questionnaire, from the other side I was experiencing in practice how art could involve and increase interaction among neighbors in an immigrant society. However, what I actually discovered was that in every intervention they had, they used in some way or another the body. And the body was the carrier of messages and different discourses. It could be ethnicity, different ethnic groups, multiculturalism, it could be different ages, different gender. All this was fascinating to me. So I think, as a researcher, I really think that when we talk about discourse analysis that I'm using, Foucaultian analysis, the resources is an interpretive art on its own right. And I explored this even more by understanding how all these different discourses of the body, using also some physical practices, they can actually be carriers of social and political messages. So all these performances, although when I will show you a few clips here, but then you can go on your own time on the Vimeo, that they have all their videos, and see how this is linked together. And most of the messages that they were passing are messages of social and political knowledge. And especially now in Greece, as you know, we are in a transition because of all these issues in our economy, politics. Europe is in influx. So all these things were coming together in a bottom-up approach. And this was my research, and this is my research, my ongoing research in terms of power in or of discourse, and how we can understand the different dimensions and values, some overt and some covert values in the Olympics. Of course, when we talk about defiant embodiment and the Olympics, we can talk that the Olympics is a performance, it's a stage. It's a stage, and there is an interactivity of the athletes with the audience. The athletes and the coaches together, they create a team of actors who are performing in a global stage. And I had this privilege to experience this by being a dancer and seeing how this was lived in such a global stage. But we can see different, this is from equestrianism, Ford equestrian, openly gay, but of course we have in the mind equestrianism is an open culture that gay is actually the norm. Homosexuality is the norm within that sport, but still it wasn't something that was in the past as much. And then we can also see defiant bodies within the Olympics with Stanislawa Walisiewicz from Poland and Helen Stevens. Stella Walsh was her nickname, and they had participated in the 1936 Berlin Games. And they were, this is Stella and this is Helen, and there were rumors, it was actually the very first proper gender testing, because there were rumors that Helen is a man and she had to go through a gender testing because she was not complying with the image of a female participating in the Olympics. Her body was not into what is considered to be a feminine female body. She proved to be a woman during the Olympics. What is interesting in terms of negotiated identities, the Olympics and outside the Olympics, is that actually about maybe 30 years later, Stella was murdered. And when they had to do the examination of her body, it was proven that she had some fake genitalia. So possibly, it was never totally open, the case, but most possibly it was actually not a woman. Okay, and this came out 30 years later. So this is interesting how during the Olympics, the body that looked to be the male was the one that was the female. And then, many years later, it was actually shown otherwise. And of course, we can go with the Caster Semenya recently. I use these cases to my students to show the narrow definitions of femininity and the body. And there is an amazing documentary from Caster Semenya where she talks in the camera and says, "What is a lady? Who is a lady? Why I am not a lady?" And she's frustrated. But I'm not going to talk about the Olympics, but I couldn't even just make some references to it because this is part of my identity of who I am. I'm going to talk about Urban League Project because I really find fascinating how they use sport body, but they actually use sport itself into their artistic performances to generate awareness about social and political issues, or just to leverage social and cultural capital in neighborhoods. Some can be deprived, but some cannot be deprived. Just raising awareness and bringing communities together. So this one is the Marathon Dam. What is marathon? Marathon is, the marathon, the original, the authentic marathon is a city. It's actually a city in Greece, but this is where there is a big tank of water, where the water is disseminated around Attica, the main area of Greece in Athens, around Athens. So there is a huge dam there for water. And because of the environmental pollution, the water levels have dropped down, and there is an issue about water shortage. So they used the 60 meters wall that there is in the dam to do climbing and to write a script about this kind of fear for environmental disaster. So you will see in the clip this sense of the physicality, the sport, the climbing, and to actually express this sense of fear and this defiant body against environmental catastrophe. that you can, as I said, it's called Marathon Down 2010 because they did also a Marathon Down 2012. There was audience there. That was not just perform. Every day there was audience from the other side of the dam. That they could actually see this in the walls, what was going on from the other side when they were fighting, and then they saw them climbing down. And all this is about the resistance. One man was the one that he actually is taking away the water from him, and he's fighting for it. And then he becomes this defiant body where he's actually trying to get the water back, and they put all these kind of pipes. So it has all this sense of using the body in such a way that demonstrates bubbles of power. The other clip I want to show you is from another performance called Moskov Selim. Moskov Selim was a novel written by one of the biggest Greek novelists, Vyzinos. And Moskov Selim was the hero of the book. The book refers to the 19th century, and Selim was a Turkish boy, the youngest of a family with 3 boys. And the mother of Selim was dressing him up in skirts because he had 3 boys and she wanted a girl. So the 3rd boy was always dressed in skirts. So the father never liked the 3rd boy. He liked the first son, who was strong and muscular like him. The first son joined the army, and when he went to the army, he actually deserted the army and then became a very big embarrassment for the family. So Selim tried to become the son that his dad always wanted. Although he was wearing the skirts, he actually joined the army and tried to prove to his father that he's the man that he wanted him to always be. Okay, so you'll see now this, how it works. Let's see the clip and then I'll explain a few things. I'll summarize all this together. This is for Rome and how Rome declined. And the whole setting takes place in the dressing rooms of swimmers. So, what we actually saw quickly in the Moshev Selim video was that he had a body that was compliant from one side to his mom, to his mother's image, because there are clips in here where he's very feminine with the skirt, and we see only his back. It was actually in the beginning of the video, and he's really very feminine, and he's almost like a defiant body to his father when he's compliant to his mom. And then he becomes very sporty, and on the stage you will see him doing boxing, doing climbing, doing everything that is so physically demanding to prove to his father that he's like him, and then he's going against his mother. So what is his real identity is really blurred in there. What now we see in Caligula is very interesting how they use the symbolism and the metaphor of a dressing room, which is quite a negotiated space in sport, especially in football. And I'm doing research in the dressing rooms in football. I can say that there is so much going on. Okay? I don't have access, obviously, but it's my colleague from Ireland who is a professional footballer, and he's gaining all this data. So they used this space of dressing rooms to show the decline, the negotiated gender power relationships, and how the unseen scene of Rome, which is quite interesting how they use sport. And there is another one that is resistant body to political dominance, because there were police officers around an immigrant, and he started doing parkour in the actual streets of the neighborhood. So just to summarize, what we can actually see is that there are such a nice, beautiful intersections between theater, sport, and performance. There are blurred barriers, symbolism, and metaphors. And from my experience, by being part of this project, we can actually see that these urban site-specific performances, either within states like in the National Theatre, or actually outside in the field or a building. The Moshev Selim was in actual classical building of Athens. All of this gives us lots of formations of docile and resistant bodies. And I'll finish there. Thank you very much.